You were a hero, and then all of a sudden, you became a villain.
I see myself as the same person I always was.
Who do you think had the biggest impact of you becoming a villain?
Let's say, for example, October 7th somehow, made me a villain.
Do you think you have any blind spots? Tucker said MAGA was betrayed.
Giant fissures that have emerged inside the conservative movement.
They don't trust JD because they think JD's been compromised.
If that's what JD Vance gets for all of his loyalty to Tucker Carlson, that'd be kind of astonishing.
They respect you, but they love him.
I would rather say 100% of the truth.
I believe Daily Wire without Ben Shapiro shuts down the next day.
When Jeremy and Caleb fired Candace, I thought that they should have publicly explained why they fired Candace. I think that it is evil what Candace Owens has done to Charlie Kirk's family. I've taken a bunch of positions that my audience does not like, including the position that Donald Trump did not win the 2020 election.
You had a vaccine position as well.
Please ask me about vaccine. For the love of God, there are certain bright lines I will not cross, and one of those bright lines I will not lie. I won't do it. I've been labeled alt-right 1,000 times wrongly because the alt-right despises me.
Oh, Nick Fuentes. Did you ever have him on?
Would I ever have him on? It depends. Again, if he were to, I would. The answer is.
So do you think there is a growing problem on the right?
A civil war is brewing in the Republic.
Transgressive politics is always attractive to young people. Whether it's Hassan Piker saying he loves Mao on the left, or whether it's Fuentes saying he loves Hitler on the right. You joke about Hitler, you joke about Hitler, and at a certain point you're like, am I really joking about Hitler, or was he really kind of okay? Piers is trying to pin him down on his beliefs about the Holocaust, and so what Nick does is he immediately launches into a bunch of jokes about the Holocaust. Is everyone smarter for having heard that? I think actually everyone might be stupider for having heard this.
Do you think there's a net positive to society with Piers Morgan's show?
I've said that he's basically the Jerry Springer of political talk. Here's a 5-person panel, and here's Hitler, and here's Air Bud. Now, I would say that mostly what Piers acts like on his show is a slightly foolish child. I mean, come on.
Okay, so we're going to be checking out Patrick Bet-David's podcast with Ben Shapiro. Patrick's going to press him on some very important questions, namely the narrative, the shift of hero to villain, where a lot of Americans who initially supported Ben after October 7th, with all of the pro-Palestinian rhetoric going out, with all the videos of the war, the footage showing people under the rubble, people crying and suffering and starving and what have you, Ben lost what seemed to be a good amount of support. So we're going to check this out. Obviously, we're going to give our reaction to it. Before we do, make sure to like, subscribe, and share. Follow me at Rafi the Realtor for all of your real estate needs in South Florida, and you can support the channel via the Buy Me a Coffee link in the pinned comment or description. Let's get into it.
Do you see yourself as a villain right now, or do you see yourself as a hero right now?
I mean, I hesitate to label. I see myself as the same person I always was, speaking truths that I think are important, and how people perceive me is of very little relevance to me.
Why are you an easy villain for a lot of people on the right now? Specifically, the youth, the young. Why are you an easy villain?
I think that there is a tendency to, again, try to blame external actors for the problems in your life. And also, there's something fun about the idea that your problems are not your fault. And I will say that if there's one message that I've been perfectly consistent about, and there are many, but this is the number one message, most of your problems in your life are solvable by you. This is an unpopular political message. And it varies very strongly from people like Tucker, who says that most of the problems in your life are the fault of somebody else and are unsolvable, maybe altogether. Right? I think that
we're on the same page with that message.
That's a very true message. That is an incredibly true message. It's very easy to get a following. It's very easy to build a cult around the idea that someone else is the cause of your problems. It works for Black America. It works for many, many whites in the Midwest. It works for some Latin Americans, right? The Cubans in Florida don't buy that crap. But there are a lot of people all around the world that once you tell them that it's not their fault they're in the position they're in and that someone's to blame, they will hop on that in 2 seconds. And so, of course, Ben Shapiro, being someone who did grow up in a comfortable family, and he acknowledges that, which there's nothing wrong with that. That's wonderful. He says that it is your responsibility to become the person that you're destined to be. And as someone who's Jewish that did not grow up with money, I grew up raised by a single grandmother, never met my parents, didn't grow up with siblings. I grew up in a basement apartment in Brooklyn. Didn't have it terrible by any means. Thank God I had a great childhood, but money was not a thing. And so I have had to bust my ass and I've gotten kicked around again and again and again. But I refuse to blame other people for that. And I know good and well that success is up to me. And so I love Ben's message, and I am very opposed to the message that someone else is going to solve your problems, because you will be waiting forever for that to happen. It doesn't work. Now, are there times where some people you'll get lucky? Of course, I think I'm a very lucky person. And so if you are deserving of good fortune, you'll be blessed with it, whether you believe in God or not. The universe will reward you when you show the universe that you are unwavering and unwilling to quit. So yeah, Ben and Patrick's message, that's the right message in my opinion.
But it's becoming an increasingly unpopular message, which I think is tragic. I think that if there's no one left in American politics who says most of the problems in your life are solvable, you live in the freest system in the history of mankind, the most prosperous system in the history of mankind, and you're sitting there bitching because you don't want to make decisions that will make your life better. And that doesn't mean that we can't do things politically that will alleviate some of the roadblocks, that'll get rid of those obstacles. I mean, that's the job of politics. But most of your successes or failures in your life, like 97% of them, are going to be up to your personal decision making. And so I'll say stuff like that, and it's fascinating. I'll give you like a villain moment, right, that sort of became a villain moment. So one of the things that I said, I was on, I think it was Konstantin Kissin's podcast, and we were talking about—
They do a great job.
Yeah, he's great. The trigonometry guys are really good. And we were talking about affordability in New York. And one of the things I said is, listen, there are things you could do to alleviate housing prices in New York, somewhat. Okay, New York is a limited piece of territory that is very, very highly built up. So you're not going to double the housing stock in New York. It's just not going to happen because there's not enough space. And so if the rent is too high there for you, you're a young person, you don't have a job that can pay for the rent, if you want to improve your life, you might think about moving out of New York. Which, again, I thought is relatively uncontroversial. I've moved many times in my life in pursuit of a job, in pursuit of a better career opportunity. We've considered moves that we didn't make, right? That was kind of the norm, and I thought that is how you pursue success, right? If you're not succeeding in a particular situation, look for another situation in which you can succeed.
Such a good point. It's such a good point, and people have such a problem with this. The idea that everything around me has to change to suit me, versus me understanding that the world doesn't revolve around me, and there may be opportunities that I haven't come across yet that may be elsewhere, whether that's dating opportunities, financial opportunities. I grew up in New York. I moved to Florida. I love it here. I've lived in Israel for quite some time during my army service. Go out into the world and find opportunities and seize them. This idea that, oh, well, it's not working for me in a certain place, so everything needs to change to fit me. What a selfish way of looking at the world. Like, not only is it not other people's responsibility, but the cold hard truth is that most people don't care about your failure or success because they have their own lives to worry about. And to put stock in other people to fix your problems is a recipe for disaster. So yes, Ben's idea is very good, but of course people don't want to hear it. They're like, oh, well, they should. They should nothing. Like, should the government do things, like Ben said, to alleviate challenges? Yes, it is their job. Should you rely on them? You could say you should expect them to, but they're imperfect humans, and many of them, honestly, just don't care that much. And it's a shame. They should, but they don't.
Because the idea was that I was telling people that they did not have a right to live where they grew up. And listen, you have a right to live where you grew up, but you don't have a right to not pay rent there, right? You don't have a right to a $200,000 salary from a company.
Who criticized you? Who criticized?
I mean, Tucker was very heavy on this. He played this, but this went very viral online. It was a huge percentage of the right was trying to make the argument, and then this is where you see it telescoped into an issue. That this is where I start to say, okay, because I'm wearing a yarmulke, there's something to the targeting. They tried to telescope, believe it or not, that issue into Israel. So what they tried to do is they did a two-step. The first thing that my opponents did is they lied about what I was saying, obviously. What they said is that I said that you have no right to be where you grew up, which is not what I said. And then they said, but you have a right to be in Israel, right? You have a right of Israel to exist, but you don't have a right for America. What in the world are you talking about?
Is this it? Is this the clip?
Yes, this is probably
Okay, go for it.
If you're a young person and you can't afford to live here, then maybe you should not live here. I mean, that is a real thing. Yeah, I know that we've now grown up in a society that says that you deserve to live where you grew up, but the reality is that the history of America is almost literally the opposite of that. The history of America is you go to a place where there is opportunity. And if the opportunities are limited here and they're not changing, then you really should try to think about other places where you have better opportunities. If you're a young person and you can't afford to live here, then maybe you should not live here.
You can pause it. So that's what you got heat for?
Yes.
Because what? Because you're asking people to leave where they can't afford to live?
Correct.
I mean, that's what everybody's family's ever done.
I know. But it's stuff like that. So again,
so who villainized you? Who was on your side? Who villainized you? Who looked at this and said, "What a jerk Ben Shapiro is"?
well, I mean, I believe Tucker has used that one a lot. He's also used a clip where I talked about how I think that it's better for people to retire later unless you have like backbreaking labor and you have physical problems.
I've seen that one.
In the clip. Right.
And that one can be debated. That actually can be debated.
Well, what I was speaking about there actually was the idea of sort of life fulfillment. And I wasn't saying what I was saying is it is actually a bad idea in life to think that you're going to hit 65 and go golfing and be on the beach for the rest of your life.
Be happy for the rest of your life. You're
right.
not.
That's not like there's no social science data to back that. You need a feeling of
somebody
meaning.
can twist that and say you want me to live till 75 years old. I've even made the argument even further than you with that one, and I've said I think we need to raise the Social Security age from 65 to 72 because we just can't afford it.
So that's exactly what I was talking about in that clip, right? If you go back 2
that's
minutes,
not
that's
a
what I'm talking
popular
about.
issue. You'll never win on that.
Correct.
That position.
But the idea is that if this is the stuff that makes me unpopular, quote unquote, on the right, how many of these people are on the right? I mean, this was traditional conservatism. Traditional conservatism was the idea of free market economics,
right?
Personal responsibility,
right?
Virtue, and recognizing the shortcomings of the welfare state, right? These were all traditional conservative opinions. There's, in fact, when people on the right will say, "Oh, people today were suggesting," I think it was Dave Smith suggesting that I was on the left. I mean, there's not a single position on which I am somehow to Dave Smith's left. I mean, that is a bizarre sort of characterization. And so this is why I say I think what's really happening.
Where are you at with gay couple men adopting kids? What's your position there?
I mean, I think that is not good. I'm against that.
You're against that?
Yes.
Has that always been the case
Yes.
since 17?
Yes.
So
I literally was on Joe Rogan talking about how I would not attend a gay wedding. He did an entire episode on it. He couldn't let go of it.
You wouldn't attend a gay wedding?
Correct. I'm a religious Jew.
Okay, so there is.
I would go to. I mean, I have gay friends who have adopted kids or surrogated. I'll go to their house. They're my friends. But do I think that what they did is morally right? No. Do I think that again? One of the things that I also people have a bit of a tough time sometimes understanding where I'm coming from is that my political stances are not consonant with, that does not obviate me being a decent person to people with whom I disagree.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So people say, how could you even be friends with a person like I'm friends with a lot of people I disagree with, it turns out. I'm not a child. Right. I can be friends with people that I disagree with. I can treat them well.
No,
and also why are people looking for my why are people looking for my moral imprimatur? Like this is the thing I've never really understood. So people like Joe got very upset at me on one episode. I think it was the second time I was on a show because I said I wouldn't attend a same-sex wedding. And my question to him was, why do you want me at your same-sex wedding? Do you need my moral imprimatur for your lifestyle? I don't need your moral imprimatur for my lifestyle. Right? If you said I don't respect your marriage, I say, okay, and? Like, can't you be confident in your own choices enough that you don't need my, I'm not the one who's like stepping in there and telling you can't do X, Y, or Z. My perspective on marriage, by the way, on gay marriage, is that the state has an incentive for people to get married and have children. That means there's an additional incentive for heterosexual couples because they get married and have children.
Do you think, remember back in the days, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, Charles Barkley had that one commercial, I am not a role model. I don't know if you remember that or not, 30 years ago.
Yeah, of course.
He's like, leave me alone. I mean, he's not a role model to young kids. Do you think in the position you're in as an influencer, do you think you are a role model? You should play a role model?
Yes. Yes.
Tell me more.
Okay, so I am a married father of 5.
Okay, congratulations on your 5th.
I appreciate it. I've lived as clean a life as it is possible to live. And I say that with pride because that's a series of decisions. Now, again, I was given the ultimate privilege, which is great parents. Right, that is the ultimate privilege, not white privilege, not economic privilege, the privilege of awesome parents. Right, I grew up in a small house in Burbank, California. It's like 1,100 square feet with 3 younger sisters. We all shared a bedroom until I was 11, and we had 1 bathroom for 6 people. So, again, we weren't economically privileged. We weren't like poor, but we were probably like middle class, lower middle class.
What high school did you go to?
I went to a Jewish day school.
Okay,
but I was in and out of public school. So I went to public school from 1st through 4th.
In Burbank?
In Burbank. So I went to Edison Elementary from K through 4. I skipped 3rd. And then I went to a Jewish school 5th and 6th. And then I went back to a public school called Walter Reed Middle School for 7th and 8th.
I know Walter Reed.
I was in the IHP program, which was sort of the like magnet program, exactly.
Yeah.
And then I went to a Jewish day school that my parents were on scholarship for for 10th, 11th, 12th, I skipped 9th. So I graduated high school when I was 16. And then I went to UCLA for college and then Harvard Law. All of that is predicated in trying to make good decisions. So this is why I put a lot of focus on good decisions, because there ain't no substitute for it. And so when I'm speaking to people as a role model, I feel it incumbent on me to try to tell the truth about things, even when it's unpopular. And so one of the things that I've noticed about a certain number of people who are critical of me is that if I criticize them, their defense will be these days, well, look at my numbers. Look how many clicks I'm getting. I'm more successful than you. That has never been something I have never measured morality by popularity. It's just not important. It isn't. I'm glad a lot of people listen to me. I prefer that more people listen to me than fewer. But I'm not going to change any of my moral precepts based on the number of people who listen to me. If it's one person or if it's a million people, I'm going to be saying the same thing.
Who do you think has?
Again, without directly ascribing motivations, people who definitely have shifted their perspectives and cite their clicks a lot. Megyn Kelly is the most obvious example. Tucker, I don't know whether it's genuine or whether he's just aiming for clicks, but obviously he's changed. If I could hit a red button and make social media disappear tomorrow, I probably would. I think it's quite
Would
terrible.
you really?
Yeah, absolutely. At great personal cost to myself, sure.
Because of what?
Because I think it's made people stupid. I think nobody reads a book anymore. I think people don't have any depth of knowledge on issues about which they speak. I think that they go to sources who don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Social media is a weird concept. It's caused so much dystopia. I reminisce about the early 2000s when I was a kid. It was such a wonderful time. There's so much beauty and simplicity. The older I get, the more I realize that so much of what makes experiencing life awesome is the simplicity of it. Going to an event like a concert and not watching it through your cell phone. Why are you paying for the concert? Paying for the concert just so you can watch it through your cell phone. It doesn't make any sense. So I completely agree. It's just, I don't know if we'll ever go away from social media, if there'll be some ban on it eventually. I don't know. It's weird. I wonder what it'll be, because it's just becoming more and more of a craze. Everyone's trying to go viral, become famous. It's like, well, if you have a business, you have to compete, and your competition's on social, and you have to build a following. Like, everyone's trying to become famous. It's such a weird world. But that's the reality, is if you want to make it now, it's much harder to do it if you don't have a following, because people looking to hire professionals want to see that you have some sort of social proof. It's crazy.
Scoped down to 30-second segments on YouTube Shorts or TikTok. I think the attention span of the public has been radically reduced. And I think people are frankly dumber in their engagement with politics than they were, when I was growing up. And I don't think they were particularly smart when I was growing up.
Just give the names, and then you tell me.
Sure.
Is it the exit of Candace, how it happened? Is it October 7th, Israel, you defending Israel? Is it you? Is it Tucker? Is it more the fact that there is no real enemy today on the right because Trump won? Who do you think had the biggest impact of you becoming a villain?
I will attribute this to just giant fissures that have emerged inside the conservative movement.
Oh, but let's put Fuentes in there as well. I would put Nick in there as well.
Listen, all those people are detractors of mine. Some of them personally hate me, I assume, or have spoken about personally hating me. I'm sure that's had an impact. I'm sure there are things that I've said that I could have said better, because that's true for everybody. And as far as the Israel of it, I do think that there has been disproportionate focus placed on that issue that is not in consonance with what, frankly, I even talk about on the show. One of the great kind of lies about my show, and this is where, again, I think social media has made people dumber, is that the people who don't like me, they'll clip from my show as though I only talk about Israel. We've actually gone back and we've measured like how much I talk about Israel. And the answer is very, very, very little. Very little. I talked about Israel a lot right after October 7th. And then, by the time we hit, I'd say mid-2024, when sort of the war had been going for a while, we went back to kind of talking about not Israel. And even, on my show today, the amount that I'll talk about Iran, which is very much in the news, might be 3 or 4 minutes. Right, out of a 45-minute or an hour-long show.
Why do you think that is? Is it just because strategically people are burned out, or you're burned out?
I mean, I think some of both, but I also think that there hasn't been a lot of movement there. I try to cover the news, and so the sort of stasis that we are currently in with regard to Iran, there's nothing happening. If something big happens, like the MOU breaks, we'll lead with it, right? But if it's not breaking news, but the implication in sort of the online world is that I do nothing but talk about Israel, which is just on a factual level.
What I'm trying to find out is, because you got to realize, like,
I'd love to hear your theories, because honestly, it's since I've been saying it's been a mystery to me to a certain extent, because if you say the same thing for 25 years, and then the perception of you changes, then I hesitate to say that it's because I said something different, because I really didn't. So then the question becomes, what changed? And so I think, by the way, I think that the answer is all of the above, obviously, right? I mean, the way that I thought that when Jeremy and Caleb, who were the decision makers, fired Candace, I thought that they should have publicly explained why they fired Candace. I think that it was, I advocated for that at the time. I think in retrospect, it was a huge mistake not to explain to the public why they had decided to fire Candace. I think they thought it was self-evident, and it turns out there's no such thing as self-evident.
Right.
So that was a mystery to a lot of people. They didn't know. Maybe they hadn't been watching her show. One of the things that another thing that I've learned about politics is that because I'm so in it, because I'm in it like every single day with all the details, I assume a level of knowledge on the part of the audience that I shouldn't assume. And I assume that people know that when they see Tucker Carlson, he's changed many of the things and the kinds of things he says since 2020.
Right.
And people don't know that because they don't engage that level with politics. Most people who are watching politics are not watching your show or my show every episode, right? They might engage once every 3-4 episodes. And even then, they might engage for 10 minutes on the episode. You have a core of people who are very solid, but that's a fairly small core.
Yeah, there's guys that watch the shorts, and there's a smaller percentage that watch the whole thing every day.
Exactly.
Those are two different audiences, and I wish there was a way of being able to know exactly who it is and do a focus group on your core guys versus that'd be so valuable.
This is exactly right. And
Sit
again,
down
this
with
is
them.
one of the things that I think has been really negative about the direction of social media is there has been, and you can see it in everybody's numbers, a movement from the long to the short. Or the migration of eyeballs from a 2-hour show or a 3-hour show or a 1-hour show to a 30-second short is very obvious.
Okay, so to sum this up, Ben talks about the fact that Israel's a tiny country and the world just seems to love blaming Israel and the Jews for everything. And this is really, I think, the crux and the meat and potatoes of this conversation is, are you responsible for the shortcomings in your life? And is it up to you to make a change? I think yes. I think this is objectively true. Are there things that happen that are out of your control? Absolutely. Should we work to change systems for the better? Should governments improve? Absolutely. External factors should also be improved. Both things can be true. But I think this is the main point of the discussion. I think as far as Israel and the US, the United States by far, pound for pound, is the best ally America has because of its technology, its success as a tiny country, its military success. With that said, I think it is vital that that Israel becomes fully self-reliant militarily so that the Americans can stop crying about it. Does that mean they're not going to blame Israel and the Jews for other things? No. They'll still probably blame Jews because people love to blame Jews. But I think this is very, very important, and Israel should get to this as soon as possible. With that said, let us know your thoughts in the comments. Follow me at Rafi the Realtor on Instagram for all of your real estate needs in Miami and the greater South Florida area. And you can support the channel by taking a moment to go to the Buy Me a Coffee link in the pinned comment or description. Thank you as always for tuning in. And I look forward to you tuning into the next one. Until next time, peace.